A woman leaves her husband and their 2 children on Christmas Eve to live with her rich lover. A year later, at Christmas, she returns and tries to humiliate them, but is shocked by what she discovers. The aroma of cinnamon and baked apples filled the Taylor home as snowflakes drifted gently outside the festively decorated windows. It was Christmas Eve, and to any unsuspecting observer, the scene might have seemed straight out of a holiday greeting card. Jennifer Taylor, a 35-year-old woman with well-groomed blonde hair and restless blue eyes, moved through the kitchen with practiced efficiency. Her movements were precise, almost mechanical, as she prepared the traditional Christmas dinner. But her eyes betrayed a barely concealed anxiety, and she checked her cell phone every few minutes. "Mom, can I help make the cookies?" asked Emily, 10, her eyes shining with anticipation of the holiday. Jennifer forced a smile. "Sure, sweetheart. Why don't you grab Olivia and the 2 of you start cutting out the shapes?" Emily nodded enthusiastically and ran off to call her younger sister. Jennifer watched the girls for a moment, a lump forming in her throat. She quickly looked away, turning her attention back to the cell phone vibrating discreetly in her pocket. In the living room, Michael Taylor, 38, struggled with a string of Christmas lights that refused to cooperate. His face, usually cheerful, was tense, worry lines creasing his forehead. "Jen, have you seen the rest of the extensions?" he called out, his voice carrying a note of frustration that went beyond just the troublesome lights. "They're in the garage, Mike. Where they always are," Jennifer replied, her tone sharper than she intended. Michael sighed, setting the lights aside for a moment. He watched his wife in the kitchen, noticing how distant she seemed, even though she was only a few feet away. Something was wrong, he could feel it. In recent months, the gap between them had widened, but today it felt different. More final. "Mom, is Dad still taking us to see the neighborhood Christmas lights tonight?" asked Olivia, 7, her voice filled with innocent hope. Jennifer froze for a moment, her hand tightening around the cell phone in her pocket. "Maybe tomorrow, honey. We have a lot to do to get ready for Christmas today." The girls exchanged disappointed glances, but quickly returned to focusing on cutting out cookies. Jennifer took advantage of the distraction to quickly check her phone. A new message flashed on the screen. "Everything's ready for tonight. Don't forget, 11 p.m. R." Jennifer's heart raced. She looked at her family, Michael still wrestling with the decorations, Emily and Olivia giggling as they made a delightful mess with the cookie dough. For a moment, doubt seized her. But then she remembered the fights, the monotony, the suffocating feeling of being trapped in a life that no longer satisfied her. With renewed determination, Jennifer muttered an excuse about needing to check something upstairs and climbed the stairs. In the closet, hidden behind old winter coats, there was a suitcase already packed. She touched it gently, as if to make sure it was real. Back in the kitchen, Jennifer moved with nervous energy, finishing the dinner preparations. Michael finally managed to fix the lights and joined the family in the kitchen. "Is everything okay, Jen?" he asked, noticing his wife's agitation. "Sure," she replied, avoiding his gaze. "I just want everything to be perfect tonight." Michael nodded slowly, not entirely convinced. He approached, placing a hand on Jennifer's shoulder. She stiffened at his touch, and he withdrew his hand, hurt. "You know," Michael began hesitantly, "I was thinking that maybe we could take a vacation after New Year's, just the 4 of us. I think it would be good for all of us." Jennifer forced another smile. "Maybe," she replied vaguely. The hours passed in a whirlwind of Christmas activities. Jennifer found herself glancing at the clock constantly, her heart speeding up as 11 p.m. approached. When the girls finally went to bed, exhausted but happy with the anticipation of the next morning's presents, Jennifer felt a pang of guilt. She kissed them more firmly than usual, taking a deep breath of their hair's scent. "Good night, my little ones," she whispered, her voice nearly breaking. Back in the living room, Michael sat on the couch, a glass of wine in his hand. He looked at Jennifer with a mix of love and apprehension. "Care to join me?" he invited, indicating the bottle of wine. Jennifer hesitated. I need to finish wrapping a few things for tomorrow," she lied. Michael nodded, disappointed. "Jen, you know you can talk to me about anything, right? if something's wrong. Everything's fine, Mike, Jennifer interrupted, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I'm just tired. It's been a long day. She turned to head upstairs, but paused for a moment. Looking back, she saw Michael sitting alone, the Christmas tree lights reflecting on his thoughtful face. For an instant, Jennifer almost wavered in her resolve, but then her phone vibrated once more in her pocket, and her determination returned. With silent steps, she climbed the stairs, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear of what she was about to do. In the bedroom, Jennifer looked at the hidden suitcase, at the family photo on the nightstand, and at the clock reading 10:45 p.m. In 15 minutes, her life would change forever. As she waited, she couldn't help but wonder, was she about to make the biggest mistake of her life, or finally embrace the happiness she so desperately desired? The answer would come soon, but one thing was certain. This Christmas would be forever etched in the Taylor family's memory for reasons no one could predict. The dining room clock showed 7:30 p.m. when the Taylor family gathered around the meticulously set table. Candles flickered softly, casting dancing shadows over the fine china and silverware, heirlooms Jennifer had inherited from her grandmother. The tempting aroma of roast turkey and scalloped potatoes filled the air, mingling with the scent of holly and pine arrangements decorating the centerpiece. Michael, wearing a festive red sweater, smiled at his daughters as they took their seats. Emily, her brown hair woven into an elaborate braid, vibrated with excitement. Olivia, the youngest, clutched her favorite teddy bear tightly, her eyes wide at the visual feast before her. "Wow, Mom, everything looks so beautiful," Emily exclaimed, admiring the decorations. Jennifer, who had just entered the room carrying the last serving dish, forced a smile. "Thank you, sweetheart. I hope you enjoy it." Michael stood up to help Jennifer, his fingers lightly grazing hers as he took the dish. For a moment, their eyes met, and Jennifer felt a pang of guilt seeing the love and concern in her husband's gaze. She quickly looked away, busying herself with serving the children. "Well, family," Michael began, raising his wine glass, "I'd like to propose a toast. Here's to another wonderful Christmas together, and to many more to come. To family." "To family," Emily and Olivia echoed enthusiastically. Jennifer hesitated for a fraction of a second before raising her own glass, her voice almost a whisper. "To family." The meal passed with an appearance of normalcy. Michael told corny jokes that made the girls laugh, while Jennifer remained quiet, responding only when spoken to directly. Her hands trembled slightly as she sliced the meat, and she barely touched her food. "Jen, are you okay?" Michael asked softly, leaning toward her. "You seem distant." Jennifer forced another smile. "I'm fine. Just a bit tired. It's been a long day of preparations." Michael nodded, not entirely convinced, but turned his attention back to Olivia, who was excitedly talking about her part in next year's school Christmas play. As the meal wound down, the tension in the air became almost palpable. Jennifer kept checking the time, her heart racing with every passing minute. Finally, as the girls started arguing about which Christmas movie to watch before bed, Jennifer rose abruptly. "Family," she said, her voice quivering slightly. I have something to say." Silence fell over the table. Michael looked at her, a mix of confusion and apprehension on his face. Jennifer took a deep breath, her hands gripping the back of the chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. I'm leaving." For a moment, no one moved. It was as if time had frozen. "Leaving?" Emily was the first to break the silence, her voice small and confused. "What do you mean, Mom?" "Where to?" Michael stood slowly, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. "Jen, what are you saying?" Jennifer closed her eyes for a moment, summoning courage. When she opened them again, there was a cold determination in her gaze. "I'm leaving you. I've met someone else, Richard. He makes me happy in a way I haven't felt in years. We're going to start a new life together." The sound of shattering glass echoed through the room as Michael dropped his wine glass. You're leaving us on Christmas Eve for another man." His voice was a mixture of anger and disbelief. Olivia began to cry, silent tears rolling down her chubby cheeks. Emily stood frozen, her face as pale as paper. "Mommy, please don't go," Olivia sobbed, reaching her little arms out to Jennifer. Jennifer's heart tightened, but she forced herself to remain firm. "I'm sorry, darlings. I can't stay. This isn't a life for me anymore." Michael rounded the table, his eyes burning with fury and pain. "How can you do this to us, to our daughters?" "Jen, for God's sake, it's Christmas." "It's exactly because it's Christmas that I have to leave now," Jennifer replied, her voice gaining strength. "I can't pretend anymore. I can't live this lie." Emily finally found her voice, crying out amidst tears, "Don't you love us anymore, Mum?" The question hit Jennifer like a punch to the gut. I love you, but sometimes love isn't enough." At that moment, the sound of a car horn came from outside. Jennifer looked at the clock. 11 p.m. on the dot. Richard was waiting. "I have to go," she said, moving toward the door. Michael grabbed her arm. "Jen, please. We can talk about this. We can fix whatever's wrong." "Don't do this." For a moment, Jennifer hesitated. She looked at her daughters, Emily now holding Olivia protectively, both crying, and at Michael, whose eyes silently pleaded with her. But then, the image of Richard waiting outside, the promise of a new life, passion, and freedom solidified her resolve. "I'm sorry," she whispered, pulling her arm free. "My decision is made." With quick steps, Jennifer retrieved her hidden suitcase from the hallway closet and opened the front door. A rush of cold air and snowflakes swept into the house, echoing the ice now settling in the Taylors' hearts. "Mommy! Mommy! Don't go!" Olivia's desperate cries echoed behind her. Jennifer paused for a moment on the porch, looking back one last time. The scene she saw would be etched in her memory forever. Michael standing in the doorway, his face a mask of pain and betrayal. Emily and Olivia clinging to each other, tears streaming freely down their faces. The softly glowing Christmas tree behind them, a cruel irony in the tragedy unfolding. With one final glance, Jennifer descended the porch steps and got into the waiting car. As the vehicle pulled away, carrying her far from everything she knew, she couldn't stop the tears that finally began to fall. Inside the house, the silence was deafening. The scent of Christmas dinner, once so inviting, now felt nauseating. Michael, still in shock, hugged his sobbing daughters, trying to process what had just happened. "Daddy," Emily sobbed, "why doesn't Mommy love us anymore?" Michael swallowed hard, fighting back his own tears. She loves us, sweetheart. She's confused right now." But as he tried to comfort his daughters, Michael knew that nothing would ever be the same. Christmas, which should have been a time of joy and family togetherness, had become the night that changed everything. The Taylor family, once happy and united, was now broken, left to pick up the pieces of their shattered hearts on the eve of what should have been the happiest day of the year. The January sun barely managed to penetrate the heavy curtains of the Taylors' living room. Michael, sitting on the couch with bloodshot eyes and an unshaven face, stared into nothingness, a half-empty whiskey bottle on the coffee table in front of him. The silence in the house was oppressive, broken only by the occasional ticking of the clock on the wall, a Christmas gift from Jennifer that now seemed to mock him with every second. "Dad," Emily's hesitant voice echoed from the hallway. "We're going to be late for school." Michael blinked, coming out of his stupor. He looked at the clock and cursed under his breath. 8:15. Classes started at 8:30. "I'm coming, sweetheart," he replied, his voice hoarse. He stood up, unsteady, fighting against the pounding headache in his temples. In the kitchen, Emily, now 10 years old, tried to make toast for herself and her younger sister. Olivia, Duck 7, sat silently at the table, her eyes red and swollen from crying through the night. "I'm sorry, girls," Michael mumbled, grabbing the car keys. "We'll have to eat on the way." The drive to school was tense and silent. Michael struggled to focus on the road, the effects of the alcohol still clouding his senses. Emily stared out the window, lost in thought, while Olivia clutched her teddy bear as if her life depended on it. Arriving at school, Michael noticed the pitying and judgmental glances of other parents. The gossip about Jennifer's departure had spread quickly through the small community. "Have a good day, girls," he said, forcing a smile. "Dad will pick you up later." Emily nodded mechanically, taking Olivia's hand and leading her inside. Michael watched them until they disappeared into the building, feeling a mixture of guilt and despair. Inside the school, things were no easier for the Taylor girls. Emily, once popular and outgoing, now isolated herself during recess, avoiding curious and sometimes cruel questions from classmates. "Hey, Emily," called Sarah, one of the girls in her class. "Is it true your mum ran off with the pizza delivery guy?" Emily felt tears forming but swallowed them hard. "Shut up, Sarah," she muttered, walking away quickly. For Olivia, the situation was even worse. Too young to fully understand what was happening, she alternated between sobbing fits and long periods of silence. Her teacher, Mrs. Anderson, watched her with growing concern. "Olivia, sweetheart," the teacher said gently during recess, "would you like to draw something to feel better?" Olivia took the offered pencil and began scribbling furiously. When she finished, she handed the drawing to Mrs. Anderson, a female figure seen from behind, walking away from three smaller, sad figures. Mrs. Anderson sighed, her heart heavy. "Thank you, Olivia. How about we draw something happy now?" Meanwhile, Michael arrived late at work for the third time that week. His boss, Mr. Thompson, waited with a stern expression. "Michael, can we talk in my office?" Once inside, Mr. Thompson got straight to the point. "Kind Michael, I understand you're going through a difficult time, but your performance has been unacceptable. Late reports, missed meetings, and now I can smell alcohol on you." Michael lowered his head, shame burning in his chest. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm trying." Mr. Thompson sighed. "Look, you've been an exemplary employee for years. I don't want to take drastic measures, but if this continues—" "It won't," Michael promised quickly. "I'll do better." But even as he made the promise, Michael knew it would be hard to keep. The job he once loved now felt insignificant compared to the void Jennifer had left behind. The hours dragged on. Michael tried to focus on the numbers on his screen, but his mind kept drifting back home, to the empty drawers, the blank spaces on the walls where family photos once hung, and the cold side of the bed Jennifer had left behind. At 3 p.m., his phone rang. It was the school. "Mr. Taylor, this is Principal Simmons. There's been an incident with Olivia. We need you to pick her up immediately." Michael's heart raced. "What happened? Is she hurt?" "She's physically fine, but she had an emotional breakdown during class. She's inconsolable." Michael closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. "I'm on my way." He left in a hurry, muttering an apology to Mr. Thompson as he passed. On the way to school, he stopped at a gas station and, almost without thinking, bought a bottle of vodka and hid it in the glove compartment. At the school, he found Olivia curled up in a corner of the nurse's office, sobbing silently. Emily was by her side, holding her protectively. "What happened, Princess?" Michael asked softly, kneeling beside Olivia. Between sobs, Olivia managed to choke out, I forgot. Mommy always did my hair for picture day. And... Michael's heart broke all over again. How could he have forgotten school picture day? "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he whispered, pulling both daughters into a tight embrace. "Daddy will learn to do your hair, okay? I promise." That night, after putting the girls to bed, Michael sat on the front porch with the bottle of vodka in one hand and his cell phone in the other. He stared at Jennifer's number, his finger hovering over the call button. "Why, Jen?" he murmured into the night. "Why did you leave us like this?" But there was no answer, only the silence of the night and the distant wail of a siren somewhere in the city. Michael took another swig from the bottle, feeling it burn down his throat. He knew he was sinking, that his daughters needed him now more than ever. But the pain of betrayal and the crushing loneliness were too heavy to bear sober. As the hours passed and the bottle emptied, Michael silently promised the stars he would do better tomorrow. He would be the father his daughters deserved. But for now, just for this night, he allowed himself to sink into the shadows Jennifer had left behind. Upstairs, Emily held Olivia, both pretending to sleep. They could hear their father's muffled sobs drifting from the porch. In silence, they too made a promise. They would be strong for him, just as he tried to be strong for them. And so, the Taylor family, or what remained of it, faced their darkest days, each fighting in their own way against the storm Jennifer had unleashed when she left on that fateful Christmas Eve. Mr. Thompson's office was quiet, except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. Michael sat stiffly in the chair opposite his boss's desk, his hands trembling slightly, a combination of hangover and nerves. "Michael," Mr. Thompson began gravely, "we've talked about this. I've given you several chances, more than I'd give any other employee." Michael swallowed hard, knowing what would come next. "Your work has been inconsistent. You've arrived late constantly, and yesterday—" Mr. Thompson paused, disappointment evident in his voice. "Yesterday you showed up visibly intoxicated at a meeting with our biggest client." I'm sorry," Michael stammered, shame burning his face. "It won't happen again, I promise." Mr. Thompson sighed heavily. "Michael, you were an excellent employee for years, but I can't ignore this anymore. I'm sorry, but we're letting you go, effective immediately." The words hit Michael like a punch to the gut. He knew he deserved it, knew he had messed up, but the reality of the situation was crushing. "Please," he pleaded, desperation coloring his voice. "My daughters, they need me. I need this job." "I'm sorry, Michael. The decision has been made. HR will provide the details of your severance." Michael left the office in a daze, carrying a box of his belongings. Colleagues cast pitying looks as he walked to the elevator. In the parking lot, he sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. "What am I going to do now?" he murmured to himself, tears threatening to fall. In the following weeks, Michael's financial reality became painfully clear. Without income and with limited savings, he could no longer afford the mortgage. "Girls," he said one night, gathering Emily and Olivia in the living room, "we need to talk about something important." Emily, now more mature beyond her years, looked at her father with concern. Olivia hugged her teddy bear tighter, her eyes wide and anxious. We're going to have to move," Michael explained, struggling to keep his voice steady, "to a smaller place, just for a while, until things get better." Emily nodded silently, but Olivia began to cry. "What about my room and my toys?" Michael pulled Olivia into a hug. "We'll take what we can, Princess, and we'll make the new place a home, I promise." The apartment they moved to was small and in a less desirable neighborhood. Emily and Olivia now shared a room, their belongings piled into a cramped space. Michael slept on the living room sofa, which also served as his workspace, while he desperately searched for a new job. Emily, sensing her father's struggle, took on more responsibilities at home. She woke up early to prepare breakfast for Olivia, helped with homework, and even tried cooking simple meals. One evening, Michael found Emily in the kitchen, standing on a stool, trying to wash the dishes. "Emily, sweetheart, you don't have to do that," he said, feeling a mixture of pride and guilt. Emily turned, tears in her eyes. "I want to help, Dad. You look so tired all the time." Michael hugged his oldest daughter, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. "You already help so much, my love. More than you should." While Emily tried to keep the family functioning, Olivia withdrew more and more. At school, she rarely spoke, spending recess alone in a corner of the playground. At home, she took refuge in her fantasy world, speaking only to her teddy bear. Concerned, Olivia's teacher scheduled a meeting with Michael. "Mr. Taylor," she began gently, "I'm worried about Olivia. She doesn't interact with other children, and her school performance is dropping." Michael rubbed his face, exhausted. "I know. I'm trying. Everything's so hard since Jennifer." The teacher placed a comforting hand on his arm. "Maybe it would be good to consider therapy for Olivia. And for you too, Mr. Taylor." Michael nodded. Though he knew he couldn't afford therapy at the moment, nights were the worst. After the girls went to sleep, Michael was alone with his thoughts and the constant temptation of the whiskey bottle hidden in the kitchen cabinet. He fought the urge to drink, knowing he had to be strong for his daughters, but the depression consumed him. One particularly rough night, after another day of job rejections, Michael found himself sitting on the bathroom floor, the whiskey bottle half empty beside him. He looked at the mirror, barely recognizing the man reflected. Sunken eyes, unshaven face, the weight of defeat on his shoulders. "Jen," he whispered at his reflection, "why did you leave us like this? How could you?" A sob escaped his lips, and suddenly he was crying uncontrollably, years of pain and frustration finally overflowing. That's how Emily found him, hours later. She had woken up to get a drink of water and heard muffled sobs coming from the bathroom. "Dad," she called softly, opening the door. Michael looked up, ashamed for his daughter to see him like this. "Emily, But before he could finish, Emily was beside him, her small arms wrapping him in a tight hug. "It's okay, Dad," she whispered. "We're going to be all right. I promise." In that moment, with his 10-year-old daughter comforting him, Michael realized how far he had fallen, but he also realized that for the sake of his daughters, he had to rise again. He had to find a way to overcome this. "You're right, sweetheart," he said, hugging Emily back. "We're going to be fine. Dad promises." And there, on the cold bathroom floor of a tiny apartment, a spark of hope ignited. The Taylor family had hit rock bottom, but maybe, just maybe, they could start climbing up again. The morning sun filtered through the leaves in the city's Central Park, casting dancing patterns on the ground. Michael Taylor walked slowly along the gravel paths, his heavy footsteps echoing the weight in his heart. In his hands, he held a stack of resumes printed on cheap paper, his last hope of finding a job. He had spent the last few weeks scouring the city, knocking on company doors, handing out resumes to stores and restaurants. So far, nothing. The constant rejections were eroding his self-esteem, and the worry about unpaid bills kept him up at night. Michael sat on a worn wooden bench, watching the people around him. Happy families having picnics, couples holding hands, children laughing and playing. The scene reminded him of happier times, when he, Jennifer, and the girls spent Sundays in this same park. Lost in thought, Michael barely noticed when a man sat next to him. It was only when the stranger spoke that he snapped out of his daydream. "Rough day, huh?" The voice was deep and friendly. Michael turned, surprised. Beside him sat a middle-aged man wearing a nice suit, yet with a relaxed air that didn't match his polished appearance. His eyes shone with curiosity and amusement. Yeah," Michael replied, a bit off balance. "You could say that." The man nodded toward the resumes in Michael's hands. "Looking for a job?" Michael sighed, nodding. "Without much luck, unfortunately." "I see," the man said, extending his hand. "I'm William, by the way, William Harrison." "Michael Taylor," he replied, shaking the offered hand. A comfortable silence settled as they watched a family of ducks swimming in the nearby pond. "You know, Michael," William began, his voice casual, "I believe there are no coincidences in life. Meetings like this often have a purpose." Michael looked at him, intrigued. "What do you mean?" William smiled, a mischievous gleam in his eye. "Well, as it happens, I'm looking for someone for a special project. Someone who isn't afraid of challenges and who's willing to think outside the box." Michael frowned, confused. "Sorry, but what exactly do you do?" William laughed, a rich, contagious sound. "Oh, a little of this, a little of that. Let's just say I'm an investor in human potential." He turned to face Michael directly. "You see, I have a proposal for you. It's not a conventional job, but it might be exactly what you need right now." Michael hesitated. On one hand, the offer sounded strange and vague. On the other, he was desperate for any opportunity. "What kind of proposal?" he asked cautiously. William pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to Michael. "Come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll discuss the details there. All I ask is that you come with an open mind." Michael looked at the card. Harrison Enterprises was printed in elegant golden letters, along with an address in the city's financial district. I don't know," Michael said, uncertainty clear in his voice. William stood up, adjusting his suit. "Think about it, Michael. Sometimes the best opportunities arise from the most unexpected places. With a final wave, William walked away, leaving Michael sitting on the bench, turning the business card over in his fingers. That night, after putting the girls to bed, Michael stayed up debating with himself. William's offer seemed too good to be true, and he had learned the hard way that if something seemed too good, it probably was. But then his eyes fell on the stack of bills on the kitchen table. Rent was late, and the fridge was almost empty. Emily had asked for money for a school field trip he couldn't afford, and Olivia needed new shoes. With a heavy sigh, Michael made his decision. He would go meet William. At least he would hear what the man had to say. The next morning, after dropping the girls at school, Michael found himself standing in front of a towering glass and steel skyscraper. He straightened his only remaining tie and stepped into the lobby. The receptionist led him to a private elevator that took him straight to the top floor. The doors opened to reveal a spacious office with panoramic views of the city. William stood by the window, watching the urban landscape below. He turned as Michael entered, a broad smile on his face. "Ah, Michael, I'm glad you came. Please have a seat." Michael settled into a leather armchair, feeling out of place in the luxurious surroundings. "So," William began, sitting behind his desk, "let's get straight to the point. I have an ambitious project in mind, and I believe you're the right person to help make it a reality." He slid a folder across the desk. Michael opened it hesitantly, his eyes widening at the project's details. This is amazing," he murmured, flipping through the pages. "And potentially very profitable," William added with a grin. "So, what do you say? Willing to jump into this adventure?" Michael thought of his daughters, their needs and their dreams. He thought of the opportunity to give them the life they deserved. With renewed determination in his eyes, he reached out to shake William's hand. "I'm in," he said firmly. William shook his hand, his smile widening. "Excellent. Welcome aboard, Michael. I believe we're about to make history together." As he left the office an hour later, contract signed and a promise of a brighter future, Michael felt something he hadn't felt in months: hope. He didn't know exactly what he was getting into, but he knew that, wise for his daughters, he would face any challenge ahead. The shrill sound of the alarm cut through the quiet of the small apartment at 5:30 in the morning. For the first time in months, Michael Taylor didn't feel the usual resistance to getting up. With a new purpose driving him, he rose from the sofa bed, determined to make real changes in his life. His first stop was at the local rehabilitation center. William had insisted that this would be the foundation of his transformation. "You can't build an empire on shaky foundations," he had said. Although initially reluctant, Michael knew William was right. "Hello, I'm Michael Taylor," he introduced himself at the front desk, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm here to ask for help." The receptionist smiled kindly. "Welcome, Mr. Taylor. The first step is always the hardest. Let's get started." The first weeks were brutal. Michael faced his demons, admitted his dependency, and worked hard to overcome it. In AA meetings, he found understanding and support. Slowly, day by day, he began to feel stronger, clearer, more himself again. Parallel to his rehabilitation, Michael immersed himself in the business world under William's guidance. Every afternoon, after therapy sessions, he went to William's office for intensive lessons. "The secret to success, Michael," William explained, his eyes shining with enthusiasm, "is not just having a good idea. It's knowing how to turn that idea into reality." Michael absorbed every word and concept. He studied financial reports late into the night, after the girls were asleep. He watched marketing strategy videos over breakfast. His mind, once clouded by alcohol and depression, now buzzed with possibilities. At home, Emily and Olivia began noticing subtle but significant changes. The dad who once spent hours on the couch was now always on the move, talking excitedly about projects and ideas. One night during dinner, which Michael had cooked for the first time in months, Emily asked curiously, "Dad, what exactly are you doing with Mr. Harrison?" Michael smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "Well, sweetheart, we're working on a very special project. A company that can help a lot of people." Olivia, who had been quiet for so long, surprised everyone by asking, "Can we help too?" Michael's heart filled with joy at seeing a glimpse of the old Olivia. "Of course, Princess. In fact, You two are my greatest inspiration." As weeks turned into months, Michael's business idea began to take shape. Inspired by his own journey and the hardships he faced as a single father, he conceived an online platform that connected struggling parents to resources, support, and job opportunities. "It's brilliant, Michael," William exclaimed when Michael presented the complete business plan. "You identified a real need and found an innovative solution." With financial backing and William's guidance, Michael assembled his team. He hired developers, designers, and marketing experts. The tiny apartment became a hub of frenetic activity, with meetings taking place at the kitchen table and code written in the girls' makeshift bedroom. Emily and Olivia got involved in the process, offering ideas and even testing early prototypes of the app. Seeing his daughter's enthusiasm fueled Michael's determination even more. Finally, after months of hard work, launch day arrived. Michael, wearing a new suit, a gift from William, was nervous yet confident as he prepared to introduce Family Connect to a group of investors and journalists. "Are you ready for this?" William asked, giving Michael an encouraging pat on the back. Michael took a deep breath, thinking about his journey, the abandonment, the fall, and the struggle to rise again. He thought of his daughters, who never lost faith in him even in the darkest moments. "I'm more than ready," he answered with conviction. The presentation was a resounding success. Michael spoke with passion about his vision, about how Family Connect could make a difference in families' lives. The investors were impressed, and journalists predicted the startup would be Silicon Valley's next big success. That night, back in the small apartment, Michael celebrated with Emily and Olivia. They ate pizza, a luxury they hadn't afforded in months, and laughed together, the atmosphere light and hopeful. "Dad," Emily said, her eyes shining with admiration, "we're so proud of you." Olivia, smiling more than Michael had seen her smile in a long time, added, "You're the best dad in the world." Michael pulled his daughters into a tight hug, tears of happiness in his eyes. "And you're the best daughters a father could ask for. All of this, every part of it, is for you." Later, after the girls were asleep, Michael stood on the balcony of the apartment, looking at the city lights. He thought of Jennifer, of how she had left them, believing she'd find happiness elsewhere. Part of him wanted to call her, to show her that they were better off without her. But then he realized he didn't need to prove anything to anyone. The real victory wasn't in business success or others' approval. It was here, in this little apartment, in the love of his daughters, and in the man he had become. Michael smiled to himself. The transformation was complete. The broken man he had once been had disappeared, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and above all, determined to be the father Emily and Olivia deserved. With one last look at the city, Michael went back inside, eager to see what the future held for his newly transformed family. The months following Family Connect's launch passed in a whirlwind of frenetic activity. Michael's startup soared beyond even William's most optimistic forecasts. The app quickly became a nationwide phenomenon, with thousands of families signing up every day. Michael barely had time to breathe, alternating between investor meetings, press interviews, and strategy sessions with his rapidly expanding team. But amid the chaos, he never lost sight of what truly mattered: his daughters. One Friday afternoon, Michael gathered Emily and Olivia in the living room of the small apartment that had been their home during the hard times. "Girls," he began, barely containing his excitement, "I have a surprise for you." Emily, now 11 and more perceptive each day, raised an eyebrow. "So what is it, Dad?" Michael grinned broadly. "We're moving." Olivia, who at 8 was slowly emerging from her shell, widened her eyes. "Where to?" "To a new house," Michael replied. "A bigger place, with a backyard where you can play. And the best part, each of you will have your own room." The girls burst into cries of joy, jumping and hugging their dad. To them, it was more than just a new house. It was a tangible symbol that things had truly changed for the better. The move happened a few weeks later. The new home was in a leafy neighborhood, with wide streets and well-kept houses. It was a 2-story house, with large windows that let in plenty of natural light. As they unpacked, Michael couldn't help feeling emotional. Just a year ago, he was at rock bottom, unsure of how he'd pay the next month's rent. Now he owned a home, he was CEO of a successful company, and most importantly, he was a present and sober father for his daughters. With the new house came a new school for Emily and Olivia. On their first day, Michael drove them personally, feeling a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Remember, girls," he said as he parked the car, "you are strong, smart, and loved. You'll do great." Emily smiled confidently, adjusting her new backpack. "Don't worry, Dad. We'll be fine." Olivia, still a bit shy, held her sister's hand, but there was a determined gleam in her eyes that warmed Michael's heart. The first weeks at the new school were a period of adjustment. Emily, with her outgoing personality, quickly made new friends and excelled in her classes. Olivia, though more reserved, found her place in the school's art club, where her drawing talent blossomed. Meanwhile, at the company, Michael continued to lead Family Connect with passion and dedication. During a strategic planning meeting, he met Sarah Johnson, the new marketing director hired to help expand the app's reach. Sarah was a 36-year-old woman with wavy brown hair and penetrating green eyes. Her sharp intelligence and dry sense of humor immediately caught Michael's attention. "So, Mr. Taylor," Sarah said after the meeting, a playful smile on her lips, "I must say I'm impressed. It's not every day you see a CEO so involved with the product." Michael laughed, feeling strangely at ease. "Well, Ms. Johnson, when the product is something so personal, it's hard not to be involved." In the days and weeks that followed, Michael and Sarah worked closely together. They spent hours discussing strategies, sometimes losing track of time while debating ideas. Michael found himself looking forward to these meetings, appreciating not only Sarah's professional insight, but also her company. One evening, after an especially long work session, Sarah paused and looked directly at Michael. "You know," she began hesitantly, "a new Italian restaurant opened downtown. I was thinking, maybe we could check it out together." Off the clock, of course. Michael felt his heart quicken. It had been so long since he'd considered the idea of dating. After Jennifer, he had focused exclusively on his daughters and the company. But something about Sarah intrigued him, made him want to explore the possibility. I'd love to," he replied, surprised by his own boldness. But I have to check with the girls first. They always come first," Sarah smiled understandingly. "Of course, I completely understand. Actually, that only makes me admire you more." That night, at home, Michael watched Emily and Olivia playing in the backyard through the kitchen window. Their laughter echoed through the house, a sound he never tired of hearing. He thought about how much their lives had changed, how far they had come. The company was flourishing, providing a level of financial security he never imagined possible. They had a warm home, the girls were adjusting well to their new school, and now there was a new possibility with Sarah. Michael smiled to himself. Ascension wasn't just about professional success or material comfort. It was about rebuilding a life, healing old wounds, and opening his heart to new possibilities. And as he watched his daughters play carefree, Michael knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, as the strong, united family they had become. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the kitchen as Michael prepared breakfast. It was a Saturday morning, and the autumn sun streamed through the windows, bathing the house in a warm golden light. Emily and Olivia were still asleep, enjoying the chance to sleep in on the weekend. Michael heard soft footsteps behind him and turned to see Sarah entering the kitchen, wearing one of his oversized shirts and her hair slightly tousled. "Good morning," she murmured, accepting the cup of coffee he offered with a sleepy smile. "Good morning," Michael replied, leaning in for a gentle kiss. "Did you sleep well?" Sarah nodded, taking a sip of coffee. "So better than I have in a long time." In the months that followed that first dinner, the relationship between Michael and Sarah had blossomed. After their first date at the Italian restaurant, they discovered a connection that went far beyond work. Sarah not only understood Michael's dedication to his daughters, she admired it. In turn, Michael found in Sarah a partner who challenged him intellectually and supported him emotionally. As their relationship deepened, Michael knew he had to be careful about introducing Sarah into Emily and Olivia's lives. He remembered vividly the pain Jennifer had caused and was determined to protect his daughters from any new trauma. The first time Sarah had dinner with the family was a tense but memorable evening. Emily, always the extrovert, bombarded Sarah with questions about her job and hobbies. Olivia, on the other hand, observed silently, her eyes studying every interaction. Over the following weeks, Sarah became an increasingly frequent presence in the house. She helped Emily with school projects and spent hours drawing with Olivia. Slowly, the girls began to open up, accepting Sarah not as a replacement for their mother, but as a new and welcome addition to their small family. One night, after Sarah had gone home, Olivia surprised Michael by saying quietly, "I like Sarah, Dad. She makes you smile." Michael's heart swelled with emotion. "I like her too, sweetheart. Very much." While Michael and Sarah's relationship flourished, Family Connect continued its meteoric rise. The app had expanded into new markets, offering not only emotional support and resources for families in crisis, but also job opportunities and professional training. One sunny spring morning, Michael gathered his team for an important announcement. "Everyone," he began, a broad smile on his face, "I just received confirmation. Family Connect is now officially the #1 family support app in the country." The room erupted in applause and cheers. Sarah, standing beside Michael, squeezed his hand, her eyes shining with pride. The company's success brought new challenges and opportunities. Michael found himself traveling more frequently, attending conferences and meetings with investors. Although these trips were necessary, he missed his daughters and Sarah intensely. It was during one of these trips that Michael had an epiphany. Sitting alone in his hotel room, gazing out at an unfamiliar city, he realized he no longer wanted to miss precious moments away from his family. As soon as he returned home, Michael gathered Emily, Olivia, and Sarah in the living room. "I have something important to discuss with you," he began, his tone serious, but his eyes filled with excitement. The girls exchanged curious glances, while Sarah tilted her head, intrigued. "I've been thinking," Michael continued. "It's been a long time since we had a family vacation, and with all the hard work we've been doing, you girls at school, Sarah and me at the company, I think we deserve time to relax and have fun together." Emily and Olivia's faces lit up instantly. "Really, Dad?" Emily exclaimed. "Where are we going?" Michael smiled. "Well, that's the best part. I want us all to decide together. How about each of us suggests a place and then we vote?" The next few hours were filled with lively discussions and internet searches. Olivia wanted to go to Disney World, Emily dreamed of Hawaiian beaches, and Sarah suggested a cultural trip through London for a touch of history. Michael watched, his heart overflowing with happiness. Seeing his daughters and Sarah interacting so naturally, planning something together as a family, was more than he could have hoped for just a year ago. Finally, after much deliberation and some fun negotiations, they reached a consensus, a 2-week trip, starting with a few days at Disney World for Olivia, followed by a week in Hawaii's beaches for Emily, and ending with a few days in London to satisfy Sarah's cultural craving. As they finalized the trip details, Michael couldn't help reflecting on how far they had come. Out of the darkness of abandonment and despair, they had emerged stronger, more united. The company born of his pain now helped thousands of families, and he had found a new love who respected and nurtured the bonds with his daughters. That night, after the girls were in bed, Michael and Sarah sat on the back porch, enjoying the gentle evening breeze. "You know," Sarah said, intertwining her fingers with Michael's, "when I started working at Family Connect, I never imagined I'd find my own family in the process." Michael pulled her closer, kissing the top of her head. "And I never imagined I'd find someone who would fit so perfectly into our lives." They remained silent for a moment, contemplating the starry sky. "Michael," Sarah said softly, "I love you, and I love the girls. I want you to know I'm committed to you, to our family, no matter what happens." Michael felt his heart fill with an emotion he couldn't quite name, deeper than happiness, more complete than contentment. It was the feeling of finally being home, of all the pieces falling into place. "We love you too, Sarah," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "More than you can imagine." As the couple remained embraced under the stars, Michael thought about the new horizons opening before them. The trip they were about to take was more than just a vacation. It was the start of a new chapter in their lives, one full of promises, love, and infinite possibilities. For the first time in a long while, Michael Taylor was genuinely excited about the future, eager to see where their journey would lead next. Snow fell softly over the city, covering the streets with a quiet, white blanket. It was Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year since Jennifer Taylor had abandoned her family. The taxi stopped in front of the house she once called home, its lights twinkling cheerfully through fogged windows. Jennifer took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't know exactly what to expect, but it certainly wasn't this. The house looked happy. Christmas decorations adorned the windows and a large wreath hung on the front door. With trembling hands, she paid the driver and got out of the taxi, dragging her designer suitcase through the newly fallen snow. Jennifer adjusted her expensive coat, a gift from Paul, her now ex-lover. Things hadn't gone as planned. The passionate romance had turned into lies, betrayals, and ultimately abandonment, an ironic twist not lost on Jennifer. She approached the door, mentally rehearsing what she would say. Maybe Michael would forgive her, maybe the girls still loved her. Maybe. Her hand froze in midair, about to knock. Through the window, she saw a scene that left her stunned. Michael, smiling and happy, decorating a Christmas tree with Emily and Olivia. But what truly shocked her was the presence of another woman, a brunette who laughed as she helped Olivia hang an ornament. Jennifer stepped back, her heart racing. This couldn't be happening. Michael should be devastated, the girls miserable without her. This wasn't the scenario she had imagined in her mind all year long. Confused and growing angry, Jennifer decided not to knock. Instead, she stepped away, determined to find out what had happened during her absence. Over the next few days, Jennifer stayed in a nearby hotel, watching from a distance the life that once belonged to her. She saw Michael leaving for work each morning, wearing elegant suits and driving a new car. She saw the girls going to school, their faces smiling and excited, and she saw the mysterious woman, clearly an integral part of the family now. Intrigued and increasingly frustrated, Jennifer decided to investigate further. A quick online search revealed something that left her speechless. Michael Taylor, CEO of Family Connector, a successful startup worth millions of dollars. The headlines were impressive. Family Connect, the app revolutionizing family support. Michael Taylor, from single dad to successful entrepreneur, how personal tragedy inspired a tech empire. Jennifer read the articles with a mix of shock and envy. Michael, the man she had considered weak and unambitious, was now celebrated as a visionary entrepreneur. The photos showed him confident, successful, completely transformed from the man she had left behind. Anger began to bubble inside her. How dare he succeed without her? How dare he be happy after she had suffered so much? In Jennifer's mind, her failure with Paul and the glamorous life she had hoped for were Michael's fault. If he had been more ambitious before, she never would have needed to leave. Determined to confront him, Jennifer carefully planned her next move. She discovered through further research that the family would be hosting a Christmas party at their new home, a mansion in an exclusive neighborhood. The contrast with the modest home she had left behind could not have been more striking. On the night of the party, Jennifer dressed impeccably, choosing a stunning red gown that flattered every curve. Her hair and makeup were perfect, a mask of confidence hiding the storm of emotions inside. Arriving at the party, Jennifer easily blended in with the guests. The house was beautifully decorated, the sound of laughter and lively conversation filling the air. She observed from afar as Michael circulated, clearly the perfect host, the new partner at his side. Emily and Olivia were there too, so grown up and lovely that for a moment Jennifer felt a pang of regret. But she quickly smothered it, replacing it with a determination to reclaim what was rightfully hers. Finally, when the party was at its peak, Jennifer made her move. She approached Michael, who was momentarily alone near the Christmas tree. "Hello, Michael," she said, her voice soft but charged with tension. "It's been a while." Michael turned, his eyes widening in shock as he recognized her. "Jennifer, what are you doing here? What, can't I visit my family at Christmas?" she replied, a cold smile playing on her lips. Michael's face hardened, years of suppressed hurt and anger surfacing. "Family, you gave up that right when you abandoned us a year ago." Jennifer laughed, a humorless sound. "Oh, please, don't act like you suffered so much. Look at you now, rich, successful. I must say I'm impressed. I never thought you had it in you." Her words were meant to wound, to provoke, and Michael felt the old insecurity threatening to resurface. But he took a deep breath, remembering how far he had come. "What do you want, Jennifer?" he asked, his voice firm. Before she could answer, Sarah appeared at Michael's side, placing a protective hand on his arm. "Is everything all right, sweetheart?" Jennifer looked Sarah up and down with thinly veiled contempt. "And who is this?" "The new nanny." Michael straightened, pulling Sarah closer. "This is Sarah, my partner, in life and in business." The shock and anger on Jennifer's face were palpable. She opened her mouth to retort, but was interrupted by a cry. "Mommy!" Emily and Olivia stood a few feet away, their faces a mixture of confusion, fear, and a touch of hope that broke Michael's heart. Jennifer turned to the girls, a fake smile spreading across her face. "Emily, Olivia, my darlings, come give Mommy a hug." But the girls didn't move. Instead, they edged closer to Michael and Sarah, seeking comfort and protection. "What are you doing here?" Emily asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jennifer seemed momentarily thrown off by her daughter's lack of enthusiasm. I came to see you, of course. I missed you so much." Olivia, who had barely spoken since Jennifer left, surprised everyone by saying, "But you left us on Christmas. You didn't love us anymore." The simple, direct words of a child struck Jennifer like a punch in the stomach. She looked around, noticing that several guests were now watching with curiosity and disapproval. Sensing she was losing control of the situation, Jennifer tried one last move. "Michael," she said, her voice now pleading, "can we talk in private? Please." "For the girls' sake." Michael looked at Sarah, who nodded slightly, and then at his daughters. "It's okay, girls. Why don't you and Sarah go check if all the guests have what they need?" As Sarah gently guided the girls away, Michael led Jennifer to his office and closed the door behind them. "Say what you came to say, Jennifer," he said, his voice tired. Jennifer hesitated, all her previous bravado gone. For the first time, she really looked at Michael, not the man she had left, but the man he had become. Strong, confident, successful. The kind of man she'd always wanted, but never believed he could be. I made a mistake," she finally said, her voice cracking. "Paul, things didn't work out. I thought maybe we could try again for the family." Michael stared at her for a long moment, a myriad of emotions crossing his face. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Jennifer, you left us. On Christmas. You chose to abandon your daughters for a man you barely knew. Do you know how much they suffered? How much we all suffered?" Jennifer lowered her head, tears forming in her eyes. Michael continued, "But you know what? I'm grateful, because through that pain, we found strength. We built a new life, a happy life, and there is no place for you in it." "But the girl," Jennifer began. "The girls have a loving family," Michael interrupted. "If one day they want to see you, that will be their decision, but for now I think it's best if you go." Jennifer looked at Michael, seeing the determination in his eyes. She realized, painfully, that she had lost, not just her family, but the chance at a life that could have been extraordinary if she had stayed. Without another word, Jennifer left the office and the party, leaving behind the life that had once been hers. As she walked through the snow, she wondered how things had gone so wrong, and if she would ever have the chance to fix the damage she had caused. Michael, watching her depart from the office window, felt a mixture of relief and sadness. But when Sarah and the girls joined him, wrapping him in a group hug, he knew he had made the right choice. This was his family now, and nothing could shake the happiness and love they had built together. The Taylor house was filled with the aroma of roast turkey and the joy of Christmas festivities. Michael, Sarah, Emily, and Olivia were gathered around the dining room table, about to begin their Christmas Eve dinner. The fireplace crackled softly, casting a warm glow over the family scene. Michael raised his glass, smiling at his family. Before we start, I'd like to make a toast. To a year of great changes, challenges overcome, and above all, to the love that kept us together. To family. To family, everyone echoed, their glasses clinking in unison. It was at that moment of perfect harmony that the doorbell rang, slicing through the festive air like a sharp blade. Who could that be at this hour? Sarah asked, frowning slightly. Michael shrugged, standing up to answer. Probably a neighbor dropping by to say Merry Christmas. But when he opened the door, his blood ran cold. Jennifer stood on the threshold, wrapped in a luxurious fur coat, her hair and makeup immaculate as always. "Merry Christmas, Michael," she said, her voice sweet but with an edge of malice. "Aren't you going to invite your wife in?" Michael froze for a moment, his mind reeling. "Jennifer, what are you doing here?" Before he could react, Jennifer swept past him, entering the house as if she still owned it. Her eyes took in the surroundings, absorbing every detail of the life she had abandoned. "Oh, how lovely," she commented, her tone condescending. "I see you managed without me after all." Sarah appeared in the hallway, her eyes widening at the sight of Jennifer. "Michael, what's going on?" Jennifer turned her gaze to Sarah, a cold smile playing on her lips. "Ah, you must be the replacement. I must say, Michael, your taste has certainly so changed." Michael finally found his voice, anger rising in his chest. "Jennifer, I think it's best if you leave now." But Jennifer was already heading toward the dining room. Emily and Olivia, still seated at the table, froze when they saw their mother enter. "Mom," Olivia whispered, her voice barely audible. Emily, on the other hand, stood up abruptly, her face a mask of conflicted emotions. "What are you doing here?" Jennifer opened her arms and as if expecting a hug. "I came to see my girls, of course. Mommy missed you so much." But the girls didn't move. The silence in the room was palpable, heavy with tension and repressed emotions. Michael and Sarah entered right behind Jennifer, both clearly disturbed by the unexpected intrusion. "Girls," Michael said calmly, "why don't you go to your room for a moment while I talk with your mother?" "No," Emily exclaimed, surprising everyone. "No, Dad, we stay." Jennifer laughed, a cold, humorless sound. Well, looks like someone grew a spine in my absence. "Tell me, Emily, did your father finally learn to be a man, or does he still need a woman to do everything?" Michael took a step forward, his voice low and dangerous. "That's enough, Jennifer. You don't have the right to come in here and insult our family." "Our family?" Jennifer mocked. "This is not a family. It's a farce you set up to feel better about not being able to keep me." Sarah, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke up. "Mrs. Taylor, with all due respect, I think you should leave. You're ruining the girls' Christmas." Jennifer turned to Sarah, her eyes flashing. "And who are you to tell me what to do? You're just a cheap substitute, honey. You'll never be their mother." It was at that moment that Olivia, the usually quiet Olivia, found her voice. "Stop," she shouted, tears in her eyes. "Stop being mean to Sarah. She loves us. She never left us." Jennifer recoiled as if slapped. "Olivia, sweetheart, you don't understand. Mommy had to leave, but—" "No," Emily interrupted, her voice trembling with emotion. "Don't try to justify yourself. You abandoned us. On Christmas Eve, you chose another life over us." Michael placed his hands on his daughter's shoulders, offering silent support. Jennifer looked around, realizing for the first time that she had lost control of the situation. Her plan to humiliate Michael, to show him how much he needed her, had backfired. "You don't understand," she tried again, her voice losing confidence. I made a mistake. I came here to fix things." Michael shook his head sadly. "There's nothing to fix, Jennifer. We moved on. We built a happy life, a loving family. And you're no longer part of it." The words hit Jennifer like a punch. She looked at her daughters, hoping to see some sign that they wanted her back, but she found only hurt and distrust in their eyes. "Girls," she pleaded, "don't you miss me? Don't you want your mother back?" Emily and Olivia exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice surprisingly mature. "We miss having a mother, but not you. We miss the idea of a mum. But the truth is, we have a family now, A family that loves us and would never abandon us. Olivia nodded, adding softly, Sarah is more of a mom than you ever were. The girl's words dealt the final blow. Jennifer felt tears burning her eyes, the reality of her actions finally hitting with full force. I'm sorry, she whispered, more to herself than to the others. Michael stepped closer, his voice gentle but firm. I think it's time for you to go, Jennifer. Please don't come back unless you're invited. With one last look at the family that had once been hers, Jennifer turned and left the house, the door closing softly behind her. The silence that followed was broken by Olivia, who ran to hug Sarah. You'll stay with us forever, right? Sarah hugged the girl tightly, tears in her eyes. Always, sweetheart. Always. Michael pulled Emily into a hug, and soon they were all together, arms wrapped around each other, a living proof of the power of love and family resilience. The Christmas dinner had been interrupted, but something more important had been reaffirmed that night. They were a family, united not by blood or obligation, but by choice and unconditional love. And nothing, no one, could break that bond. The Taylor family was still recovering from the confrontation with Jennifer when the doorbell rang again. Michael, emotionally drained, opened the door with hesitation, half expecting Jennifer's return. Instead, he found a middle-aged man in a worn overcoat, a badge hanging around his neck. Good evening, the man said, his voice grave and professional. I'm Detective Jack Bronson. I'm looking for Jennifer Taylor. I have information that she might have been here. Michael felt his stomach sink. She was here a moment ago, but she left. May I ask what this is about? Detective Bronson hesitated, glancing past Michael into the family gathered in the living room. It's a delicate matter, Mr. Taylor. Perhaps we could speak privately. Michael nodded, leading the detective to his office. Sarah cast him a worried glance, but he reassured her with a subtle nod. Once inside, Detective Bronson got straight to the point. Mr. Taylor, your ex-wife is in serious trouble. She's accumulated substantial debts and is under investigation for involvement in illegal activities. Michael sat down heavily in his chair, stunned. Illegal activities? What kind? Financial fraud mainly, Bronson explained. It appears that the man she ran off with, Richard Dawson, used her as a front for a series of fraudulent schemes. We have evidence she signed documents and opened accounts used to launder money. Michael's head spun with the revelations. Jennifer, involved in crimes. It seemed surreal. How much does she owe? Michael asked, dreading the answer. Detective Bronson sighed. We're talking millions, Mr. Taylor, and that's just what we've traced so far. Michael closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the revelations. What happens now? There are warrants out for Jennifer in several states, Bronson informed. We're trying to locate her before she attempts to leave the country. Any information you can provide about her whereabouts would be extremely helpful. Michael hesitated. Despite everything Jennifer had done, the idea of turning her in made him uncomfortable. I don't know where she's staying. She showed up here without warning. The detective nodded, handing Michael a card. If you hear anything, please contact me. And Mr. Taylor, prepare yourself. This story will likely become public soon. After the detective left, Michael remained in his office for a few moments, trying to process it all. When he finally returned to the living room, he found Sarah and the girls waiting anxiously. Dad? Emily asked, her voice tense. What's going on? Michael looked at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. He knew he needed to be honest with his daughters. Girls, he began, sitting down with them. That man was a detective. He was looking for your mother. Olivia gripped Sarah's hand, her eyes wide. Did Mom do something wrong? Michael took a deep breath. It seems so, sweetheart. The man she ran off with, Richard, he got her involved in some bad business. She's in a lot of trouble now. Emily, always the perceptive one, frowned. What kind of trouble? Debts, Michael explained softly, and some illegal activities. The police are looking for her. Silence followed, each family member absorbing the information in their own way. Sarah was the first to speak. What can we do? Michael shook his head, uncertain. I don't know. Part of me wants to help her for the girls' sakes, but another part knows she made her own choices, Sarah finished gently. Emily stood up abruptly, her voice trembling with emotion. Why should we help her? She left us. She tried to ruin our Christmas. She was horrible to you, Dad, and to Sarah. Olivia, on the other hand, looked conflicted. But she's still our mum, she murmured. Michael pulled both girls into a hug. I know this is hard and confusing. We don't have to decide anything right now. Let's sleep on it and talk more in the morning, okay? The girls nodded reluctantly, and Sarah took them to bed, giving Michael a supportive look over her shoulder. Alone in the living room, Michael found himself torn. Jennifer had hurt his family deeply, but the thought of her facing prison and financial ruin disturbed him. He thought about the app he had created, about the mission to help families in crisis. Wasn't Jennifer, despite everything, still part of his family? Hours later, when the house was quiet and snow fell softly outside, Michael was still awake, weighing his options. The detective's card felt heavy in his pocket. He took it out, staring at the number. With a deep sigh, he picked up his cell phone, knowing the decision he was about to make would change their lives once again. What Michael didn't know was that, a few miles away, Jennifer was making her own crucial choice, one that would set into motion a chain of events no one could predict. Dawn brought a cold clarity to the Taylors' home, the snow from the previous night glistening under the first rays of sunlight. Michael was sitting in the kitchen, an untouched cup of coffee in front of him, when he heard a soft knock at the door. With a heavy heart, he opened it to find Jennifer, a shadow of the confident woman she had once been. Her eyes were red and swollen, her hair disheveled, and she shivered in the morning chill. "Michael," she whispered, her voice broken, "I have nowhere to go. Please, help me." Reluctantly, he let her in, calling Sarah and the girls. Within minutes, they were all gathered in the living room, the air charged with tension and conflicting emotions. Jennifer, sitting alone in an armchair, looked small and vulnerable. "I know I don't deserve your help," and she began, her voice trembling, "but I didn't know what Richard was doing. By the time I found out, it was too late. He abandoned me, leaving me with all the debts and legal guilt." Emily, her face a mask of contained anger, was the first to speak. "How can we trust you? You left us, and now you only come back because you're in trouble." Olivia, torn between hurt and compassion, asked softly, "Did you really not know, Mom?" Jennifer shook her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I was so stupid, so blind. I thought I was living a dream, but it was a nightmare." Michael exchanged glances with Sarah, both unsure how to proceed. Just then, the doorbell rang again. To everyone's surprise, it was William, Michael's mentor and investor. "Sorry to intrude," he said, entering the room. "Michael called me last night, and I thought I might offer some perspective." With William present, the family began a heated debate about what to do. Emily remained firm in her position not to help Jennifer, arguing that she had made her choices and should face the consequences. "She left us when we needed her," Emily said, her voice filled with emotion. "So why should we help her now?" Olivia, though still hurt, showed signs of wanting to forgive. "But if she really changed, doesn't everyone deserve a second chance?" Michael was torn, his emotions oscillating between anger and compassion. "Part of me wants to help for the girl's sake, but another part..." Sarah surprised everyone with her perspective. "I know Jennifer hurt me, hurt us," she said softly. "But I see how this family values forgiveness and compassion. Isn't that what we teach the girls? Isn't that what Family Connect stands for?" William nodded, adding his own insight. "Sometimes, Michael, the hardest decisions are the ones that define us the most. Remember why you started Family Connect? It was about second chances, wasn't it?" Jennifer, who had remained silent during most of the discussion, finally spoke. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I was selfish and reckless, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this, even if it means facing the legal consequences of my actions." Michael looked at each member of his family, gauging their reactions. Emily still seemed skeptical, but her posture had softened slightly. Olivia showed clear signs that she wanted to reconnect with her mother. Sarah, always his pillar of strength, offered an encouraging smile. Finally, Michael turned to William. "What options do we have?" William smiled gently. "I have some contacts in the legal system. We can work to minimize the charges against Jennifer in exchange for her full cooperation. She would have to surrender and testify against Richard, but we might be able to avoid a long prison sentence." Jennifer nodded fervently. "I'll do it. I'll do anything." Michael took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision on his shoulders. He knew whatever he decided would shape not only Jennifer's future, but the entire family's. "Okay," he said finally. "We'll help, but with conditions." He turned to Jennifer, his gaze firm. "First, you'll surrender and fully cooperate with the authorities. Second, you'll go to therapy and work on yourself. Third, any relationship with the girls will be on their terms. If they don't want to see you, you will respect that." Jennifer agreed immediately, tears of relief and gratitude in her eyes. Emily, still reluctant, spoke up. "What if she hurts us again?" Michael knelt before his oldest daughter. "Then we'll deal with it together, as a family, but part of being strong is giving people the chance to change." Olivia approached Jennifer timidly. "Do you promise to try, Mum? Promise not to leave us again?" Jennifer reached out, gently touching Olivia's face. "I promise, sweetheart. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to fix what I did." Sarah, watching the scene, added softly, "Remember, girls, forgiveness isn't just for the other person. It's for ourselves too. It sets us free." As the family came together, in a hesitant but hopeful embrace, Michael knew the road ahead would be hard. There would be legal, emotional, and practical challenges. But looking at the faces of his daughters, Sarah and even Jennifer, he felt a surge of determination. This was the true essence of Family Connect, not just helping families in crisis, but believing in the power of redemption and unconditional love. With this resolution in mind, Michael prepared for the next chapter in their lives, knowing that no matter what came, they would face it together. The year that followed the decision to help Jennifer was an emotional roller coaster for the Taylor family. The initial weeks were the hardest, with Jennifer turning herself into the authorities and the start of legal proceedings. True to his word, Michael used every resource at his disposal to help Jennifer. William proved invaluable, using his contacts to secure the best lawyer possible. Jennifer's full cooperation with the authorities, providing crucial information on Richard's illegal activities, helped her case significantly. During this period, Sarah proved to be a rock of support not only for Michael and the girls, but surprisingly for Jennifer as well. She accompanied Jennifer to her therapy sessions, offering a compassionate perspective that helped heal old wounds. Emily and Olivia, though initially hesitant, slowly began rebuilding their relationship with their mother. Visits to the detention facility, where Jennifer awaited trial, were tense at first, but over time they became moments of genuine connection. In one of those visits, Emily finally voiced her long-repressed feelings. "Why did you leave us, Mum? Weren't we enough?" Jennifer, tears in her eyes, answered honestly, "You were always more than enough, sweetheart. I just wasn't enough for myself, but I'm learning to be better for you and for me." That conversation marked a turning point for Emily, who began opening herself more to the idea of forgiveness. Olivia found comfort in drawing during the visits, creating a sketchbook that documented her journey of reconciliation with her mother. Each drawing was a window into her evolving feelings, from initial anger to growing hope. As the legal case progressed, Michael reflected on justice and redemption. He expanded Family Connect to include resources for families affected by incarceration, inspired by his own experience. Finally, after months of legal proceedings, the verdict was announced. Due to her cooperation and extenuating circumstances, Jennifer received a reduced sentence that included probation and mandatory community service. On the day Jennifer was released, the entire family was there to welcome her. The moment was bittersweet, full of relief, but also apprehension about the future. "Welcome back," Michael said softly, extending his hand to Jennifer. Jennifer took it, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you for everything." The following months were about adjustment and growth, Determined to keep her promise, Jennifer threw herself into her community service work with fervor. She started working at a rehabilitation center for women, using her own experience to help others facing similar challenges. Emily and Olivia, seeing their mother's genuine effort, began to lower their guard. The visits became more frequent and less tense. Olivia even invited Jennifer to help her with a school art project, a gesture that deeply moved Jennifer. Sarah, in her infinite wisdom and compassion, suggested family therapy sessions. These sessions provided a safe space for everyone to express their feelings and work toward healing together. As Christmas approached again, Michael proposed a bold idea, inviting Jennifer to Christmas Eve dinner. "Are you sure, Dad?" Emily asked, still cautious. Michael smiled gently. "I think we all deserve the chance to create new, happy memories. What do you think?" To everyone's surprise, Olivia answered first, "I'd like that. Could we make cookies together, like we used to?" Michael's smile widened. "Of course you can, sweetheart." On Christmas Eve, the Taylor home was filled with a nervous but hopeful energy. Jennifer arrived early, offering to help with the preparations. The kitchen became the center of activity, with Jennifer and the girls making cookies, while Michael and Sarah handled the turkey. The air was filled with the scent of spices and the sound of hesitant but genuine laughter. During dinner, Michael proposed a toast to second chances, to forgiveness, and to the love that unites us, even in the hardest times. Everyone raised their glasses, eyes shining with contained emotion. After dinner, as everyone gathered in the living room to exchange gifts, Jennifer asked for a moment to speak. "I know I can't erase what I did," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "but I want you all to know how grateful I am for this second chance. Michael, Sarah, you showed me the true meaning of compassion. Emily, Olivia, your strength and ability to forgive inspire me to be a better person every day. I love all of you, and I promise to spend each day trying to earn your forgiveness and trust." There wasn't a dry eye in the room after Jennifer's speech. Emily, surprisingly, was the first to hug her, followed closely by Olivia. Later that night, after Jennifer had gone home and the girls were in bed, Michael and Sarah sat on the porch, watching the snow fall softly. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Michael asked, interlacing his fingers with Sarah's. Sarah smiled, leaning into him. "I think we did the courageous thing, and that's usually the right thing." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "You know, with all this, I almost forgot to give you your present." He pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it, revealing an engagement ring. "Sarah Johnson, would you do me the honor of marrying me?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, Michael." 1,000 times yes. As they kissed, sealing their commitment, Michael reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them here. From broken hearts to a reassembled family, from failure to success, from hurt to forgiveness. The future was full of promise: marriage to Sarah, the continued growth of Family Connect, the evolving relationship with Jennifer, and Emily and Olivia's bright future. Challenges would surely arise, but Michael knew that together, as a family, they could face anything. As the snow continued to fall, covering the world with a white mantle of possibilities, Michael felt a deep sense of peace and gratitude. This wasn't an ending, he realized, but a new beginning, a restart filled with hope, love, and the promise of better days ahead. And so, in the quiet of that Christmas night, the Taylor family, in all its complex and beautiful forms, found their way back home, not just to a physical place, but into each other's hearts. Their story proved that even after the deepest betrayals, after the hardest trials, love and forgiveness could triumph. And as the lights of the Christmas tree twinkled softly in the darkness, the Taylor family embraced the future, united in love and ready for whatever tomorrow might bring.